Hey, I'm Matt, and welcome to the Mr. Maple Show. Today we're going to be discussing general care for ginkgos.
Hey, I'm Tim, and I really hope you enjoy this video on caring for ginkgos. I think this is something that a lot of people, we get a lot of questions about, and we're trying to do more videos where we answer a lot of the questions that we're getting in through our emails.
So we want to do these gardening tips to give you confidence in growing ginkgo trees. They're a very simple tree to grow, but one that you may not be familiar with. So we hope that this video gives you confidence and helps you better in your gardening with ginkgo trees.
If you like these informative videos on how to grow different plants, make sure to like this video. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel because we're putting more and more of these out daily. And also make sure you sign up for our weekly emails on MrMaple.com. We're releasing a whole bunch of neat plants every Tuesday at 10 a.m. and that's definitely something you'll want to check out.
Hey, if you've watched our channel before, you've probably seen some videos on Hillstone Arboretum. We're actually here the first day of March right now in 2022, so we're just about to get into spring. We're excited to show you some plants in this garden, but we wanted to get out here today in the sun and just talk a little bit about ginkgo trees. We're actually here in front of a spring grove in our garden here, and we wanted to give you some general tips and care for growing ginkgo trees. And we hope this gives you some confidence in them. They're actually a really easy plant to grow and one that grows zones 3 through 9. So it has a wide range of habitats that work great for this plant.
When we talk about ginkgo trees, we're talking about Ginkgo biloba. Yes, that's actually the same thing people often take as medication, but this is to help you grow the trees in your landscape and garden. Ginkgo trees are extremely cold tolerant, they're heat tolerant, they're drought tolerant, they're pollution tolerant, but there are different tips that we can give you to help your tree really grow well for you and survive and thrive in your landscape and garden.
Hey, the first one we get into, you've heard me say this before if you've watched any of our how-to videos or our general care videos, but it's good drainage. Good drainage is the key for ginkgos. It's again another one of those plants that doesn't want boggy or wet feet. So you want to make sure it's somewhere that drainage is the key there. It's not holding water, it's not staying swampy. They're not a tree that wants to be continuously wet. By getting continuously wet roots, you're going to get root rot and you're going to slow the overall growth of your tree down.
And ginkgos are very easy to grow, but whenever you give them good drainage, that really helps them thrive, get established, and do well in the landscape. Speaking of getting established, one great tip with ginkgos that's different from a lot of other trees we grow is that ginkgos love a more alkaline soil. So by giving them lime when you're planting them and lime throughout the season, you help this plant get established and take up water and nutrients way more efficiently.
Hey, we heard this tip from friends in Japan, and they said pelletized garden lime is really going to increase the growth rate on your ginkgos. So we didn't really have a system for how much to use. So we were like, hey, how much should we do? So what we did is we tested this here at our nursery. We used alkaline garden lime, just basic garden lime. We put it out on half the entire greenhouse. Half the greenhouse was the control we didn't do anything with. And even after just one growing season, the trees that we had limed were significantly larger than the trees that had been fertilized but not limed. So you're going to get better growth rate out of your ginkgos if you use some pelletized garden lime. A lot of times people will say, I find ginkgos to be incredibly fast growing. I find ginkgos to be incredibly slow growing. And the difference may often be the alkalinity of your soil.
And when we're talking about this garden lime, this is garden lime, not the fruit. We often make the joke that you're not making a margarita, you're out there using pelletized garden lime in your landscape and garden. And ginkgos, when you do this, it really helps them get established and thrive. Now, lime itself is not a fertilizer. What it does is it allows the plant to take up water and nutrients more efficiently because the soil pH is the soil pH that the roots perform best at. And so when you put lime out, don't forget you also need to fertilize. Lime itself isn't a fertilizer, but it helps the plant take up the fertilizer more efficiently.
So for our control here at the nursery, we added 3 tablespoons to a 1 gallon. We actually did it in spring, summer, and in fall. We noticed no harmful effects to putting it out even in late fall. You know, so you can actually go pretty heavy with it. You don't want to put a whole bag of lime around your tree, but if you have a tree in the landscape, a couple of handfuls around that tree, especially in the spring, is going to go a long way toward increasing your growth rate. And pelletized garden lime is really cheap. You can get it at most places for like $3, $4 a bag. It's an easy product to find. We're talking about the pelletized granulated form, so you don't want something that's going to be, liquid version that might wash away quicker. The granulated form is going to give you the best results.
Now, lime is essential whenever it comes to ginkgos. I mean, we can't stress this enough with the care for ginkgos. Lime is one of the most important aspects because you see such a difference in your results. The plants are thicker, the plants grow so much better, so much faster, and even with the dwarf ginkgo, you're going to get a more full dwarf ginkgo by giving it that garden lime.
Now we've covered good drainage, and we've covered lime. Next up, I'd like to talk about light conditions. Ginkgo biloba are actually sun-loving plants in most zones. Now these are going to work zones 3 through 9. I've seen Ginkgo even in zone 10, so they can go into some high heat areas for sure. But the key there is a little bit of sunlight. So if you want to pick up your growth rate for your Ginkgo, you want at least 4 to 5 hours of sunlight during the day. And that's going to help that tree have a more direct growth rate. You can grow Ginkgo in heavy shade, but typically what you get is a much slower growing and a much darker foliage plant. So you'll often get a darker color, but also a tree that's not going to get out there and grow quite as quickly. I have seen them perform well, but not have the same growth rate.
Yeah, and what you'll get is a more sparse looking Ginkgo, whereas the full sun will definitely be more dense and more full. And you'll notice that the trees that are grown in full sun grow at a much faster rate, and they seem to just get established and perform better long term rather than one that's growing much slower in a more shaded situation.
Now we've talked a little bit about those things. There's also a ton of different cultivars when it comes to Ginkgo, so picking the right cultivar for you is definitely going to matter toward what you're looking to achieve long term. You know, there are definitely dwarf Ginkgos that are going to be small and compact, and other forms that are going to be faster, upright growing trees. So you don't want to be trying to reinvent the wheel here. If you want to start out with a dwarf, if you want a dwarf Ginkgo, start out with a dwarf form. You don't want to be growing something like autumn gold or Saratoga that's going to require you to cut them back to maintain a smaller overall size. There are a lot of great small compact forms like American and Troll. They're going to give you that more compact, dense, small habit versus an overall larger tree. Now you may be looking for a larger overall tree. One of the most popular Ginkgos we do is certainly autumn gold, because that's what people think of in that fall time. You know, I get so many pictures in the fall, people will say, my neighbor has this in their landscape. I didn't notice it in the summer, but what the heck is this? This is amazing. And typically it's very similar to an autumn gold Ginkgo.
Autumn gold is such a great upright selection. There are also many dwarf selections like Gnome, Troll, American that are great for everything that you love about the Ginkgos with that bright yellow fall color, but they're more dwarf and compact in habit. And we've actually got some videos on some of those selections that you should definitely check out on our channel as well.
Yeah, if you go to mrginkgo.com right now, it'll redirect you to Mr. Maple. But you can actually go to our full list of Ginkgos right there. There's a whole section for them, and you can look at, you know, a wide range of Ginkgos. We actually do over 150 different cultivars of Ginkgos here at our nursery, so we definitely have something that fits your size, shape, and need. So there's a lot of different variances there. So be conscious of that when you're planning your spot. Pick a Ginkgo that's going to fit your spot long term and kind of fit your needs for what you're looking for best. A lot of the dwarf cultivars are going to lend themselves extremely well to container growing. So a very popular way to grow those is in a small patio planter or container. Again, be very conscious of the drainage on the pot. That's going to be the premier thing to concern you in the container garden is good drainage.
Now, people often say, I don't want a Ginkgo that fruits. Well, you can get a grafted male selection that's been grown out and then selected for being a male selection, and that will produce very little to no fruits for you at all. And so that's going to be the best way to get one that does that. And most of our selections like Gnome, Troll, Autumn Gold, those are male selections that don't produce those fruits that Ginkgos are known for.
I think sometimes in the trade people mix up the understock, and that can lead to some cultivars becoming known as possible females. A lot of times I think that happens with Autumn Gold, where people have grown an Autumn Gold understock, and it may lead to some confusion there in the cultivar. We keep everything listed very specifically. We actually sell a few female cultivars too, so if it's something you're looking for, we do offer that from time to time. It's pretty rare, to be honest with you, but we do offer some of the females. They are some of our most popular ones. In a lot of Asian countries, the fruits of the Ginkgo can be considered a delicacy. I actually tried them in Japan. Wasn't my favorite thing, but I gave it a try. But it is a delicacy in a lot of places, so we do offer those sometimes. So stay tuned for that. You can always filter for female Ginkgos. That is something we have from time to time.
But for most people's landscape, you're going to be wanting a male grafted form. And that's what we offer a lot with Ginkgos, are those grafted male selections. Generally speaking, care for Ginkgos is really easy. So always remember that Ginkgos are one of the easiest plants to grow. They're one of the plants that you can grow, anyone can grow in their landscape and garden, and they can grow almost anywhere in the country.
So next up, I'd like to cover fertilizing Ginkgos. Now, one thing I would definitely like to point out is timing. Early spring is a good time to fertilize your Ginkgo, but you want to cut that off after May. We typically don't fertilize anything here at the nursery, going into June. We want them to have a good time to shut down, and that's going to give you better winterization if your Ginkgo isn't trying to flush new growth. It's going to give you better fall colors, and it's going to shut the tree down more completely if it's not staying too active. So with the fertilizer, remember that timing is important, and you don't want to continue to fertilize late into the season.
And with ginkgos, a lot of the dwarf selections, you'll definitely want to use something similar to what you fertilize Japanese maples with. Something 15 or under on the nitrogen would be an excellent way to grow a ginkgo at a moderate pace that will really thrive and do well in the landscape. But remember, if you're not liming the plant while you're fertilizing, it's really not taking up most of that fertilizer. So you're putting the fertilizer out in the landscape and it's going towards your weeds and other things in your landscape rather than your ginkgo itself. So make sure you're liming when you are fertilizing, or the fertilizer often isn't actually going to the ginkgo itself. Whenever you have a larger ginkgo, say like an autumn gold or something that's already gotten established in the landscape, you can actually give that a little bit more fertilizer and a little bit higher nitrogen once it's out there and established in the landscape and garden.
Yeah, they're extremely salt tolerant. They work well in areas where the salt buildup could be an issue because they're very durable for that. Ginkgos are one of the oldest living fossil records in the world that's still around today. So it's an excellently durable plant. I mean, it stood the test of time. I joke with people sometimes that there are fossil records of them here in Hendersonville. So they must be native to our area if they have fossil records of them here in this area. But it's a plant you've seen, and it's one that's going to give you that almost prehistoric feel. I love it for that prehistoric feel in the garden for sure.
Ginkgo trees are extremely easy to grow out in the landscape and garden. Whenever you follow a lot of these tips that we have for growing ginkgos, they're going to be something that you can grow very easy, and it's something that I hope a lot of y'all find this video very informative.
Hey, I hope this general care for ginkgos gives you confidence in growing ginkgos in your garden. I think they're a plant everyone should have. If you're a gardener, you don't want to miss out on having one of these in your landscape. It's fun. It's an easy way to get kids into gardening. I say it a lot in my ginkgo videos, but it's easy to imagine a dinosaur walking by one of these things, and that's going to spark that bit of imagination. And it may make your child or grandchild get into gardening right there. So if you can tie it to a critter like a dinosaur, that's always going to make it more interesting. You know, one of my favorite memories of ginkgos was when we were in Japan, and we got to go to Ikonomaki Avenue. That was just an amazing view of the ginkgos there in fall color there in Tokyo. And we would like to do a full video on that at some point.
Yeah, I think this is a teaser for a full video of that later. But Ikonomaki Avenue, they just had these trees along the lines of this road. And when it was in peak fall color, it just made everybody I mean, they literally shut down the streets. Everyone takes photos, and then they stop, get everyone out of the road, cars drive down, and then once they get the cars out of there, the party begins again, and everyone's back in there taking selfies with their dogs.
It's like a huge festival. It was like the biggest party ever. It was super fun to see, and it was just fun to see people celebrate fall color because it was such a fun time to see ginkgos and just one of the most majestic views you'll ever see. So maybe we can do a podcast deep dive or a deep dive video about that. We're currently doing a giveaway as well, so if you want to get subscribed or if you want to participate in the giveaway for the t-shirt, you can put Mr. Maple Podcast in the comments below under our videos right now. As we get closer to 9,000, we'll be selecting some winners for that as well.
And that's winner for a I Dig Japanese Maples t-shirt. So make sure to put Mr. Maple Podcast in the comment section below. We greatly appreciate y'all as viewers and as customers. I hope this video has been very informative to you. Make sure you like our video, subscribe, comment in the comment section, and as always, sign up for our weekly emails on mrmaple.com. We're often adding a new ginkgo as part of the 10 at 10 every single week. We try to. And really hope you all enjoyed this video.
Hey, God bless.
And have a great day.